We're so excited to be here. Norway is very special to us. Dr. Chris and I were in Norway 3 years ago, and it was after we secured one of the most important ingredients in StemRenu. And isn't that exciting? It's here. You get it from Norway. We can't get it from anywhere else in the world. And why is that? It's because of your pristine environment here. And so we'll talk about that when we get into some of the ingredients. But with Chris and I, just to give you a little bit of our background, 11 years ago, we had our own practice in Minnesota. And our practice was, Chris really worked with the physiology of people, trying to help them get well. And then we realized that if you just focus on the physical body, sometimes we don't quite get well. My job really was to work with the clients from a vibrational perspective and from the emotional body, because we know that we have the mind, the body, the spirit, correct? That was the name of our company. So we worked for years trying to help people get their health and wellness back, always searching out for the best of the best, the leading edge, because when we had somebody showing up at our door, we had the worst help, because they had been through the entire medical system. They had been given drugs. They had gotten sicker, and they had no hope. So we had to not only help build up their hope, right, but we had to help work from the body from a natural perspective to help them come back into balance. So we have always wanted the best things from nature to help get to that point. So we actually, about 8 years ago, we were deciding, you know what, we need to probably take people offshore to take them to different stem cell therapy clinics, because people were so sick, we needed to boost them and possibly get them some pretty radical, healthy stem cell therapy treatments to kind of get them back into balance. And I think you all know what kind of out of balance we're talking about, right? You know, I don't even have to bring up those disease names, right?
Chronic conditions, yes.
Very, very chronic. So as we were doing that, a friend of ours had sent us some information about YTE, young tissue extract. And so we started testing it and working with it with our patients. It was phenomenal. We were seeing people with the most horrific chronic conditions come back into balance very quickly. And so we knew we were onto something very, very special. So Dr. Chris, being the researcher that he is, I said, we have to have this ingredient. So would you find out why? I just know, you know, intuitively, because I'm a medical intuitive, and I know vibrationally, we need to have this. So he got to work on it and really started to do the research and find out the reasons why we needed to have this ingredient. And then we met Dr. Eskelund, who from Norway. I don't know if any of you know of him, but he studied egg physiology ever since he was a teenager, right here in Norway. And interestingly enough, he wanted to know how you could take, or how a chicken could be in an egg. You know, this egg could turn into a chicken in 21 days. And so he studied it, he was fascinated with it, and really found out all of this egg physiology, and realized that when he started to test and work with this ingredient, the young tissue extract, years ago, 25, 30 years ago, when he was testing this, he was using that fertilized incubated egg extract, say that fast 10 times, and he was using that, and the first product that he created was to help with libido, and thought that, okay, this will help with libido, because he saw that there were hormones that were changing. So men started to use the product, but not only did their libido get better, their depression went away. And his joke was, well, maybe their depression went away because their libido got better. Or, you know, vice versa. So then the wives would say, well, can I take that? So the wives started to take the young tissue extract, and they started to have depression go away. They started to have more energy and their libido got better. So he was really onto something and started to study this even further. And we'll go into some of those studies a little bit later, but it's really exciting.
I think it's important to share. You see that there's no hormones in this, but there's stimulant or triggers to activate your own hormones. So it doesn't matter what gender, male or female, it doesn't matter. So it works at the foundation of the core of your own body.
Yes, thank you. It helps your body to naturally have your hormones come into balance without giving you a hormone.
Exactly.
Okay. So when we started to, we met with Dr. Escalon and he asked if we would be willing to take this ingredient out into the world, because after we met with him and he saw how excited we were and how we knew what this ingredient really did, we were the only ones that understood him and how to take it out and talk about it. So we were very, very fortunate to meet with him and the egg producers an hour away from here and launched with
StemRenu. And I'd like to just maybe give a little bit more behind the story is that I feel very fortunate because in our practice together, you know how you give to the world, you help others, then the world gives back to you, right? And we realized that the more we tried to help the more difficult issues, the more we were getting guidance. And there were two other professionals. There was Dr. Escalon who helped us. But even before we met Dr. Escalon, we were trained by a transplant physiologist. Okay, what that means is this is a doctor who studied how to work with keeping cells alive and taking an organ, you know, that has gone bad and replacing it with another organ. That's what the transplant physiology, right? So he was so brilliant, and when he was in school, that he was able to increase the cell preservation time. He could keep a cell healthy in a petri dish, you know, in a laboratory dish, 5 times longer than what had ever been done before, because he understood how to feed the cell nutrition, the right minerals, the right proteins, the right. So very safe procedure on cell longevity. And this gave us an understanding of what kind of ingredients are needed for the body to maintain itself and to really increase its longevity. And then we had the good fortune to meet a professor of medical school who taught immunology, you know, how the immune system works. And this is where we really got directed into the stem cell physiology and the communication of what's needed with the stem cell. And we found out that the word stem cell is very popular in today's culture because of its fascinating dynamics, and we'll share more about that. But it's not the stem cell, it's the signals that the stem cell requires. So again, everything we learned was how to do something in a natural way, how to do it in a very safe way, so that you're stimulating and facilitating cell preservation, cell development with no side effects, no aberrations, actually making the cell stronger rather than more diseased or breaking it down. So we feel this was something that we were gifted with this wonderful information, and then we have the ingredients put together from our 50 years of combined experience, how to put this together synergistically, and this started us on our journey, right? So.
In layman terms, what we mean by the cells and cell aberration is if you have a tumor, per se, right, that is accelerated cell growth. By taking StemRenu, that does not mean that that's going to accelerate that tumor, because that is something that is out of balance. What it's going to do more so is it's going to help break that down, okay, and help the other healthy cells. So when we talk about cell growth and cell health, it means it works to create a healthy cell environment, okay?
So the body has signals that tell the cell to replicate itself, to make another healthy cell, and then it has another signal that says you're too sick to move on, then we need to move you out of the body. So it's really that simple, but it comes from a natural process that exists in all life, whether it's a plant, an animal, a human. And this is what comes from the best chemistry and the best physiology that we were blessed with. So we were at the Viking Museum yesterday, and we saw how great explorers and pioneers you have in your genes and your heritage. So we ask you to take a look at something that's really wonderful to bring out to the world. This is brand new science. This is what conventional science is spending billions of dollars to explore and to learn more about, and we discovered these secrets in nature that allow us to do this very safely and very beautifully to introduce a whole new science. So,
and by the way, the snow today reminds me of home, Minnesota. Yeah, sure. Total Minnesota girl, so I get it.
so let's get into StemRenu, and but that's a little bit of its background and how it came about. You see here is a sample of the baby skin and the aged skin. And if this were the same individual, the blueprint would be the same. The cell doesn't change its DNA, its genetics, you know, how the information that allows it to create itself. The only difference between the baby skin and the aged skin is the signaling has reduced, has gone down. So the information to maintain the healthy integrity, the healthy replication of that cell has been lost. So we all learn that as we age, our hormone levels go down, our enzyme levels go down, so do our signal molecules. And this is the technology that we discovered and those specific signals that we can access in nature.
Does anyone know what age our signals start to decline?
25.
21, you are close.
Oh, yes.
You are close, yes, 21. So the bad news is we start to age at the age of 21. Okay, that's it, it's all over at 21.
So before discovering this technology, we all worked with replenishment. And we saw that the average age of most Western cultures was somewhere in the 80s, you know, 75 to 85. But with the new science of not just replenishment, you know, giving you what's deficient, what's missing in your body, and if we give the signaling that it's looking for, we can live to be 120, 130 years. Because this is how the body's designed. But very few of us can do that. And this is part of the gift that we want to bring to the world. Tina, maybe a little bit more on
Sure.
When is it too late to start with StemRenu?
It's never too late.
Never too late.
Like give it to
Never
my
too
father on my day.
Absolutely. What we find too, when let's say your father, he's 90.
Yeah.
Watch how much energy he has. Watch how he changes. You will see more dramatic changes in him because he's going to get those signals as though he was 21. So he's going to, there's a big gap there, right? So you're going to see some really good changes with him. Okay.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the older, the more you see. Yeah.
He'll be out shoveling, right? So when we look at where our industry has been until Chris and I, until we were introduced to the young tissue extract, we were focused, just like everybody else, on what we call replenishment science. And that really is the focus of, if you're missing something, you take it and you feel better, right? So what do you think is the most important nutrient that you could be deficient in? Any guess?
Water.
Water, good one.
Yeah.
Air, is that a nutrient?
No, it's a breatharian.
Breatharian, okay. Pick a nutrient, you guys. Vitamin D.
Vitamin
That's
C.
going to be a big one here, right? Vitamin D.
How many take vitamin C here, right?
Right.
Okay.
What happens if you don't have vitamin C?
Get scurvy.
Scurvy, right? The most important nutrient is the one that you are missing.
Vitamin D.
Because when we're focused on replenishment, what happens is, do you ever hear, somebody will say, oh, I just took this great nutritional product, but I had such a great response, but the other person didn't. And why is that? It's because you needed it and they didn't. So that's how replenishment science works. Now, that's very important because we're all becoming very deficient because our foods are deficient, right? We have more stress, we have more toxins in our environment, as Antonella was talking about. So what we have done is we've kind of brought another big piece of the puzzle together, and that is renewal science. And that's where we address activating our renewal system, where we're able to utilize all of that nutrition that we bring back into the body. And that's why so many people have so many different responses when they take StemRenu. Because people will say, oh, take it and you'll have more energy. Well, somebody will say, I took it and I sleep better. Or all of a sudden, my body finally had enough energy to detox and get all of the junk out of my body. So I didn't feel so great for a couple of days. Well, we want that to be taken out of our body, right? But sometimes it just doesn't feel so good when that's happening. But at the end of that cleansing cycle, it's like you have more health, more energy, more vitality, okay? So that's why everybody has their own unique blueprint. So if somebody's gonna ask you, well, what do I expect when I take StemRenu? You say, I don't know, but all I know is that your renewal system's going to activate. You tell me, okay? So if you want to get younger, just take StemRenu. But we don't know how your body's going to respond.
And as far as replenishment, it is very individual. Some people have more deficiency than others, but everyone needs renewal. Because as we said, between 21 and 25, we start to lose those signal proteins. We start to lose those signal molecules. Everyone does. And so therefore, renewal science fits everyone. And no matter what age, because this is food, if you could be 2 or 102, and it'll work for you.
As long as you still have stem cells in your body, it's never too late, okay?
Yeah.
This is a cross-section of a cell, and you see here's the surface of the cell, and these are receptor sites, and there's hundreds of thousands receptor sites on every cell. And this is just a graphic of showing how through the bloodstream these signal molecules come and attach to the different receptor sites on the surface of the cell. And this is what requires the understanding of how to make these signal molecules, again, be plentiful in the body. How we can activate what the cell knows how to do naturally. So we're supporting the body in its own natural function. How to clean itself up, how to get rid of the dead cells, how to make more healthy cells. So this is all part of the function.
And we have 70 trillion cells. And thank goodness we don't have to tell them what to do. We can just take StemRenu, introduce these new signal molecules back into our body, and it knows exactly what to do. Okay?
Here's what it looks like more from a clinical perspective. The signal molecule attaches to this receptor site, and it sends the signal in, and more of these signal proteins are made, and it tells the cell to make another cell, to make an enzyme, to make a hormone, to make a gene regulator, meaning that, okay, turn this gene on and turn this one off. And this is how, when you give the body specific signals that are designed to create life, they express the genes for health, and they turn off the genes for breakdown. As we age and lose these signal molecules, this is what causes the problems, because then the healthy expression is lost, and the decay and the dying expression starts in the body.
Is it possible to get some of them slides if we want to make presentation in the future?
Sure. The slides the presentations are with Joe. Joe will talk about that.
Yeah, good.
So here's what's fascinating the world, stem cell physiology. And what's so important is to understand we're not introducing stem cells. What we learned in our research, it's the signaling to the stem cells that's important. Because when you signal to the stem cell, it knows how to make another stem cell, to go back into the stem cell bank. Okay, you have a pool of stem cells, and the beauty of this cell is that it's a primitive cell that knows how to turn into muscle, bone, fat, cartilage, kidney, lung, liver. That's the beauty of it. It knows how to differentiate according to the signal. And it also makes another stem cell so that you have a reserve. So at 90 years old, a lot of your stem cells aren't working again, but as you activate them, you start building up the bank as well as making new healthy tissue. Okay? And we're finding that there's some stem cells that facilitate the immune response. Some stem cells facilitate reducing the inflammation in the body. You know, we've studied with stem cell doctors, and these are doctors that use our product in between their stem cell therapies. And they take bone marrow, and the bone marrow helps reduce the inflammation. But they'll take the stem cells from the fat, and that's to make all these other tissues. So you see, there's this incredible orchestration that goes on the stem cell and what we're introducing. And this is what you, as the Vikings, the pioneers, the explorers, you're going to introduce the stem cell system to the world, because nobody teaches the stem cell system. Have any of you heard of the stem cell system before today? Okay.
What? Well, I do have to say. Pardon?
I'm a fan of Bruce Lipton.
Fan of Bruce Lipton,
Bruce
epigenetics,
Lipton,
yes.
Epigenetics. Well, you
Studied
know
with
more
him
than
extensively.
most doctors, and all of you after today already know more than most doctors. They are not trained in this. They are trained in general physiology. They're not even trained in nutrition, okay? So this is new science that even the stem cell therapy doctors in the United States, there's only 100 clinics that are right now approved in the United States to do stem cell therapy research. It's not even approved as true stem cell therapy. And you know, it's all research right now. So when we're talking about this kind of science, most of them, if they're a doctor that's older than their 30s, they've never even trained in this. They're going back to school to learn this. It's quite interesting that we're bringing this out into the world far more advanced than what they even know.
And this is how nature does it, not the doctor. So let's talk about a little bit about the ingredients.
Yes, and we have 5 ingredients, and they are either organic or wild crafted, and they are all synergistically combined with the right combination to create what we call this stem cell activation replenishment system. Okay, so this is the renewal system here that we have within our ingredients.
And each one of these ingredients by themselves has a long history of being very helpful for any type of chronic condition in the body, especially abnormal tissue growth. So it makes abnormal tissues go back into healthy development. So the shark cartilage has been used that way. Aloe vera, I've used aloe vera in my practice since the 80s and had wonderful results, but it had to be a very special form of aloe we'll talk about. Marine mineral complex to balance the pH. There's certain sugars in here, they're called fucoidins, that are designed, and they've done studies with cultures that have high algae consumption. The women have lower breast cancer, the men have lower prostate cancers. The green tea has been shown to be very powerful antioxidant and protector to the body. And of course, this is the special ingredient that incorporates all this. This is the director. This is the composer. We take nutrition for building blocks to replenish what's missing. We've never taken an architect. We've never taken an architect that understands the blueprint and how to use these building blocks and put them together in the right place in the right time.
Or any other nutrition that you take or good food that you're eating. Okay. One thing about the aloe, do you remember Chris was talking about, you saw the cross section of the cell and there were those receptors that were coming out of each cell? Those receptors are healthy when you have the right biological sugars in the body, and the aloe vera is very, very critical for making sure those receptor sites can receive information into the cell. Okay.
So this may be too much science, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. The sugar in aloe vera, the dominant sugar, is called mannose. You know, all sugars, fructose, sucrose, if it ends in OSE, is a sugar, right? Every one of these receptor sites starts out with mannose. So you build all these antennae that Tina's talking about with that foundational sugar. And that's what we capture in the aloe, not only in its single form, but in its complex form. And its complex form does many, many, many things that we're going to share with you. So here's the superstar of the 5 ingredients here.
Yes, and Heidi and Frederick were here earlier, and they are the egg producers. They have actually been working to try to get this ingredient out to the world. Want to guess how many years?
Too long.
25. 25 years. They've been trying to get this out to the world because they knew that they had a very special ingredient and a very special process for this ingredient. And do you ever think that sometimes the world isn't ready, right? They were ahead of their time, way ahead of their time. And so now the world is finally ready for this ingredient. And it's because it's so powerful. And we love it because there's a word, pre-embryonic proteins. And this is because the egg is fertilized and incubated up to 10 days. And if any of you want to see any of the incubation machines, I have them on my phone. I'd be happy to show them to you. But what happens during that 10 days is these signal molecules become very, very highly concentrated. And then we extract that egg white protein, and then we harvest that and we freeze it. We don't denature it. Now the only reason, many reasons why we get it from Norway, but one of the main reasons is that you have a pristine environment here. If we were to buy eggs from the United States, we would have to vaccinate our hens 12 to 24 times.
Depending upon where in the
Depending
country.
on where in the country, because we have all kinds of diseases in the United States. In Norway, you don't have any bird diseases. So they only have to vaccinate their hens 1 time. When you're talking about up to 24 vaccinations, where do you think those vaccinations go? Right into that egg, right? And then we take it. Plus in the United States, they have to high heat in order to make sure that any kind of disease or bacteria is not in that egg white. Okay, here it's not high heat.
Here's
So-
Heidi and Frederick here. We just mentioned, we'll get a new slide.
There's Heidi and Frederick
Here's the girls.
coming out of their house into the fields. Okay, and there are thousands of them, and they're out free range, roaming in their own natural environment. Okay, not caged, which is absolutely wonderful. Now, what was interesting is Frederick, he actually inherited the farm from his father. His father died when he was a very small boy, and his mother kept the farm. Remember we were talking about Dr. Escalon? Dr. Escalon worked at the university, and he would bring his university students to this farm to do all the studies. And so Frederick kept this tradition going, and he was the only organic farm. He was the first organic farm in Norway, and of course all the farmers in Norway thought he was crazy. And he says, no, we're organic. And many of them followed suit after that. So they just thought he was some young kid that didn't know what he was talking about, right? So we're really excited to be a part of their family and have them as part of the NHT family as well.
Yeah, and it's the heritage of the hen is it's a Norwegian hen, and
Yes,
so
directly from
and
Norway.
It roams freely, so it's pasture raised.
And here they are in
there's
Hong
no
Kong
folks.
with the Hong Kong event.
Okay.
And there they are, the girls, one of the girls. People ask, how come they're not fat? And laying eggs and or chickens, or laying hens and chicken, the chickens that you eat, the hens you eat are very, very different. So they are Norwegian hens, they have been the only hens on their farm forever. Nothing has ever been imported as far as the birds, so there they are.
So the egg is the architect that activates a wonderful response in the body, and one of the key responses is its ability to reduce stress.
Anybody have any stress? Put your feet up too, right? Okay. Yeah, I have a great example. I was flying from the West Coast to the East Coast to get here, and then from New York to Helsinki, and then Helsinki to Oslo. Well, my flight was 2 hours late, and I only had 1 hour to catch a flight from New York to my Helsinki flight. So I'm on the flight going, I'm gonna miss it. My stress started to go up, my anxiety started to go up, and I went, get your stem. I took out my StemRenu, I took 3 of them, popped them, and I was just in my Zen mode and said, it's all gonna be good. I landed, my flight from John F. Kennedy, New York, to Helsinki was 2 hours late. I got my flight. I was like, see, isn't that great? There was no reason to stress, but yet I wanted to go there, okay? It was so amazing that I could just feel it within about 10 minutes. So when I travel, I take, what, 6 of them? But normally, you know, it's like more like 2 to 3 a day. But it has been proven, Dr. Escalon did some studies, and it has been proven the egg to reduce cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone that's released whenever we have stress. So anybody that has a lot of cortisols in their system, they tend to have more of the belly fat, okay, around the tire around the waist. And then they're also going to accelerate their aging, and they're going to break down their collagen 10 times faster. And collagen is really important, not only because it makes us look younger, but it's so important because it's the glue that holds all of our cells together. So it's just as important on the inside as what we see from our skin on the outside, okay?
So you see, not just stress reduction supports the collagen protection, but balances blood sugar and the pH, the acid-alkaline balance in the body. Energy levels are increased, you're sleeping better, so you have more energy, the body repairs better. And it's truly a formula that works on the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. You know.
And it's been proven to reduce cortisols up to 50% in the body, which is really profound. Okay.
So that's the architect. The architect then uses the other ingredients, and the other key ingredient is the aloe extract. And this is a very special aloe. And the reason it's so special is because we're able to make it into a powder form and put it in a capsule, but that powder form is like taking the aloe vera from your backyard and having it fresh. Because it's only the fresh aloe that has the full healing properties and capabilities. Throughout history, aloe vera is in every culture and known for its healing properties, so it's been used for thousands of years. One of the things that very few people know, that Alexander the Great, the Greek general that took over the known world at the time, one of his secrets was behind his armies were carts and carts of fresh aloe vera that were used to heal the wounds of his embattled soldiers, so he could maintain the health and integrity. And what we're learning is that the aloe vera component that's so important, especially for healthy cell production, is a sugar that's called ace-mannan, acetylated mannose. Remember we talked about the mannose sugar for the signal antenna? Well, this ace-mannan is a long chain sugar, a whole bunch of mannose. And it is so powerful that it's used in the chicken industry to enhance the vaccines. So people say, well, can I take this with my medication? You can, but it's going to make your medication work better. because in veterinary medicine, they use this ace-mannan to enhance the vaccinations, to make them more potent. So instead of being 70% effective, they become 95% effective. And the doctor we work with, and there's only one source in the world, just like there's one source in the world for the egg extract, there's only one source in the world for this very special aloe that we get. And this doctor has learned how to increase this ace-mannan content naturally with the growing cycle and this very special nutrients that he gives to the aloe vera plants that he gets.
This is not the same aloe vera you buy in a store, okay? So you know, you can get, aloe vera is everywhere. You can go buy it in the store, but it's not the same.
Aloe vera is it? It's not barbadensis. Barbadensis is not that.
It is barbadensis.
It is.
It is, yes.
Yes.
But a very high, like, cultured barbadensis.
Flash dried, it's every day, it's handcrafted and flash dried within, is it 8 hours? It's
Yeah.
flash dried.
Where it's grown?
It's grown in volcanic soil, and there's 2 locations that we're seeing.
I haven't found it in Norway yet.
Not in Norway, no.
Or the Norwegians, the Vikings would have had
It
it,
could be
I'm
in
sure.
US or it could be in the.
No, no, no.
But when I first
The
discovered
volcanic
this,
islands,
when
yeah.
I first discovered this doctor, he was known as the father of aloe vera. And he was producing this ace-mannan concentrate for veterinary medicine. And veterinary medicine is much more, let's say, natural than conventional medicine. They were actually using it to inject in into the dogs and cats and used in veterinary to deal with tumor growth. Okay, so you see
To
how
reduce
powerful-
tumors.
Yes, yeah. So as a treatment for tumors, this was what was specifically used in its pharmaceutical form. Okay, and we have it as in a very special way that you're taking it every day, and it exercises your immune system. You know, your immune system has these wonderful cells that help repair, protect, defend the body. And we've seen this in the bloodstream, where before you look at the blood, you see the white blood cells, which are the protectors that float around and say, okay, is this you, is this not you? If it's not you, I'm gonna attack it, okay? As soon as you take the StemRenu, these white blood cells come to life. It's like something turned them on and activated them. And this is so powerful that every time you take a StemRenu, whether you feel it or not, you're exercising your immune system. And the more you exercise, the stronger you get, right? And the stronger you get, the more you can protect yourself, the more you can build yourself. These are few of the many secrets. And then this completes the cycle for the stem cell system. How many of you know where stem cells are manufactured before they go into your bloodstream and into the tissue?
The bone marrow.
The bone marrow,
Oh,
right?
very good.
So it takes healthy bones to make healthy bone marrow. So we found the only algae, the only marine mineral complex that has been proven clinically to not just slow down the breakdown of bones, but to repair and regenerate. So if your bones are 90 years old and you want them to be like they were 50 or 40 again, this is the formula that you would use. Okay, because it's been shown 1 year and 7-year studies to reduce bone loss and actually regenerate bone.
Let's talk a little bit about calcium. We all know calcium's in everything, right? It's fortified in everything. But that calcium that is fortified in everything is a rock calcium. What do you think happens when we ingest rocks? First of all, it's not good. Most of society doesn't understand. They think that just because we say it's calcium enriched, that it's good for us. But it's not that it's calcium enriched, it's what type of calcium. So this is 97% absorbable plant-based calcium. And that's the difference. Most of us are over-calcified, and that's what ends up in our kidneys, in our joints, in our tissues that cause eventual pain or arthritis and inflammation. Okay?
What kind of calcium union is this?
This,
Yeah.
It's a
It's
broad
a-
spectrum calcium.
yeah.
It is.
Okay.
Because it's a plant calcium, it'll be a citrate and
It's a full-
sulfate, it's
Yeah,
multi,
okay.
yeah. And different chelates. And again, one of the things Tina just shared is we learned in school that the plants are designed to eat the rocks, and then we're designed to eat the plants. So we get our minerals from the plants, not from the soil, okay? And so this is why we chose this as the best source of minerals to balance, again, the pH, to maintain that acid-alkaline balance. And it's a high calcium form of plant mineral form, and it really helps to repair bone tissue. Because bones are just not calcium. They're phosphorus, they're magnesium, right? They're all the different minerals that it's made up the bone tissue. So let's talk about, now that's the stem cell system, right? Maybe let's do a little review. You make the stem cells in the bone marrow, so you take the algae to build the bones. You have to release the stem cells once they're in the marrow, and how does that release happen? From the immune system, because the immune system signals the marrow to say, we need more stem cells here because this knee is sprained, or this artery is inflamed, or this kidney is damaged.
Or
okay?
my back hurts.
It is, okay? So now you have the aloe vera that's proven to be an immune modulator and specifically designed to release more stem cells. And those stem cells just hang around. We've seen individuals that have had traumas as a child, and 60 years later, they still had those stem cells where the trauma was, but nothing happened. Why? Because nothing was there to activate the stem cells.
To signal.
To signal them to turn on and fix and repair. And so this is why we say the magic ingredient came from Norway, the activator. The activator is the egg. And these signals are the signals that create life. They're pre-embryonic. We harvest them on the 10th day, and the reason the 10th day instead of the 12th day or 13th day is because after the 10th day, they're infused into the embryo to make kidneys and lungs and livers, okay? So we grab them before they develop the embryo, and now they signal the development of life itself. And now you see the whole sequence of stem cell activation.
Is those signals similar to redox, the redox molecule?
The redox
Redox?
molecule, that's more the aloe vera would be
The
more
aloe
the
is-
redox.
yep.
Yeah, the antioxidant.
Take it a little bit further with the egg. It's more of an activator. Go like somebody. I'll give you. This is a good example. Somebody would have a knee injury, like Chris was talking about years ago, and all of a sudden they take stem, and what happens is they go, oh, I feel a little achy going on in the knee. Next thing you know, the knee's feeling great and repairing, because now all of the nerve damage is starting to come back to life. So those stem cells were there, but they weren't getting the signal that said heal, repair, regenerate. So that's where the egg comes in and gives that extra activation for them to go back to work. And that's something that we had as we were up to the age of 21, right? We needed that because we were growing, right? So you see that a child, when they have a cut or a scrape or something, they heal pretty quickly, and sometimes they don't even scar. It's because they're full of these signal activation proteins that we introduce back into the body.
It's a really good question. The question was this like a redox molecule? Redox stands for oxygen, reduction of oxygen. So does it turn oxygen up or does it turn it down? And because oxygen is very powerful. This is how, when you want to make a fire, you have to have oxygen, right? You take away the oxygen, there's no fire. So we heal and repair with oxygen, but that's one signal. What we do with the pre-embryonic signals is we create the signals for hormones, we create the signals for redox, we create the signals for enzymes, we create the signals. See, the creation of the body requires multiple signals. And we take them all for granted because they happen automatically. But when you have something that creates life itself, it introduces all the signals.
And an easy way to think about this is if we have these 12 systems in the body. If you go through the digestive system, circulatory system, we have these 12 different systems. And the egg works on signaling for all of them. Okay. And that's why we talk about having a full renewal system that is activated with StemRenu.
And this is what really makes it hard for us, for individuals to comprehend, because how can one thing do so much? So it sounds like snake oil, you know, somebody's trying to sell me something that is too good, but look at the basic fundamental dynamics of some of the results.
Has anybody taken StemRenu and felt any of these benefits?
How many sleep better, right?
Sleep better?
Yeah.
Faster recovery.
The stress.
Stress, yeah.
Reduction of stress,
Right.
that's the biggie, right? Increases energy and endurance. You know, energy is really what happens first before we have the chemistry. You know, so when you think about energy, we are a manifestation of the energies that flow through our body. And it's so important to understand energy. And the anti-aging medicine and the technology, it really helps us understand what energy is all about.
Yes, and so the myth is we all thought that as we age, we lose energy. Right? I'm just aging, I'm losing energy. But the real truth of it is we age because our body stops making energy. Okay? So if you can introduce something that helps your body to make energy again, it helps you to get younger from the inside out. Okay?
And how do you make energy? Through the oxygen that comes from the lungs, through the liver that helps process the sugars that transform into the energy in the cell, okay? So this is the chemistry, but first comes the energy to do that. And so we support the primal function to make the chemistry happen. So the next question we get is, how many should we take? And you know, this is such a wonderful product. We say that the best way to understand what's needed for you is according to your stress level. Because this is a capsule of food that helps you handle stress. Okay? The recommendation is 1 to 2 capsules a day. And if you have more stress that day, then you can take 3 to 4 capsules. If you have no stress, you're on vacation, you say, well, I don't have to even take my StemRenu today, I'll just take it tomorrow because I have to fly home and I'm not on vacation anymore.
When Norwegians go on vacation, don't they drink? Don't they? I heard that. I know you don't. But if you do, or somebody you know does, okay, take your stem because it's going to help your body recover, okay? Right?
But the key is to really understand that it's a combination of foods that have been ingested by different cultures for thousands of years. So it's very safe. And one of the questions we often get is it safe with medications? Well, when you get your medication for your high blood pressure or your blood sugar, does your doctor say stop eating? You can't have food anymore? No. He wants you to even eat better. Well, these are some of the best foods you can eat to help your system deal with whatever imbalance you have in the body.
Let me help you to understand how to talk to a doctor, because that typically is a pretty tough question. So if I go to you and you're my doctor and I say, can I take this?
Yes.
He says yes. But
He's not a doctor.
He's not a doctor. Wrong answer. The doctor's going to say no. Why? Why is your doctor going to say no?
You don't know it.
Exactly.
They don't know it and they're liable. So if they don't research it and say, yeah, it's okay for you to take, then they're going to say no. So if you go to your doctor and say, I'm taking this, is there any reason why I shouldn't? Then they look at it and they go, oh, it's just food. No, there's no reason why you shouldn't take it. Okay? So that's how you approach the doctor. And then when they say, okay, there's no reason why you shouldn't take it, then you can say to them, good. Now, if I'm on a medication, you're going to help me monitor my medications, right? Because I might not need as much. Okay? So you get them to buy it. Remember, you can fire your doctor, right? They work for you. Okay? So let them know that you are in in control of your health and that you're using them as a consultant. Okay? Switch it around. They are not God. Okay? They are not the authority. They are the ones that are there to help you. Okay? We have such a backwards approach with that in our mindset because we think they know more or we think they know better. Okay? But a lot of this is turned around with the access of the internet and having these excellent supplements out there. You get to take control of your own health. Okay? So that's how you can do it and be responsible and take responsibility for it. And then they work with you. We've seen it over and over and over again. And people come back and say, thank you for sharing that, because that's one key way that it allowed me to get the doctor to work with me. Okay?
So when we had the good fortune to meet our next speaker, Mr. Joe Garcia, we were fortunate enough to learn about NHT and the wonderful products it has. And these are all the building blocks that the body's looking for replenishment in a very special form. High integrity, quality ingredients, and bioavailability. And we said to NHT, I said, you know what, it'd really be nice if you had an architect to direct all these wonderful building blocks to help build and repair back the body. So today you learned about a whole new approach to nutrition. Nutrition that directs the other foods and nutrients you take in every day.
And it's important. People will say, oh, I feel so much better taking StemRenu, I'm not going to take anything else. And we go, oh, you still need your omegas. You still need the essential vitamins and minerals. So make sure that you're still taking your good nutrition because it's going to work better. You're going to get better results. Okay?
And you spend good, hard-earned krone, right, dollars for your nutrition. Okay, this makes more value out of your investment. You're investing your time and your energy into maintaining your health, and this supports all that. So we want to thank you very much for having us today. It's been a real treat. We love visiting your country and being in front
We're
of
excited
hopefully the
that
first
you're
of many
launching
meetings.
here. We're so excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
And until now,
Yeah.
should we turn it back?
Yeah.